What's going on, guys? This is Zaccari, and today I'm coming at you with a new segment I'm calling Indie Filter. Now, while I don't see this being solely about games for the Nintendo Switch, the big push for indies on Nintendo's new system has made me want to look closer at some of these games, as indies can often be a crapshoot in terms of quality, and especially with many of these games not being very cheap, at least in terms of many of the ones Nintendo is currently offering. So rather than just giving you the whole hipster, "Oh my god, this game is so innovative and thought-provoking, a must-play," that you'll hear for seemingly every generic pixelated platformer, I want to break these games down critically and get to the bottom line. Are they worth the price of admission? So for this one, I want to start with something a little different. Whoa, we're in real life. Yeah, I grabbed the physical version of today's game, the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, and wanted to show off its physical goods, as I think it's a pretty sweet deal. Cover is cool, I really like that artwork on the front, with a very descriptive breakdown of the game's features on the back, which I really appreciate, as again, it can be hard to know what you're getting into with some indies. Inside we have, of course, the game card, but what I think is the major attraction for this is the retro-inspired manual. I mean, just take a look at this bad boy. Full color pictures with an overview of the game's story, controls, a look at some of the items and enemies. It's honestly kind of sad looking at this to think that these were once a standard part of a game, and now I see them as this awesome luxury item. And also, there's these sticker sheets inside, another cute little bonus. And of course, there's one that closely resembles the popular Isaac Twitch emote. This sticker in front with the "stickers found inside" message was actually on the outside of the plastic wrap. I just peeled it off and stuck it onto my game box since I thought it looked cool. So just keep in mind that when you rip off the packaging, that this sticker is going to come off with it. But that's enough gushing about the physical contents, let's get into the actual game. Now, the original Binding of Isaac came out back in like 2011, I think, so I'm assuming most people are at least vaguely familiar with it, but I'll still go over the basics for those who aren't. So Isaac is a young boy who lives with his mom, who's a bit of a religious nut, to put it kindly, and one day she hears a voice telling her to sacrifice little baby Isaac, and as she attempts to do this, Isaac flees into a trapdoor in the floor of their house, and that's pretty much where the game begins. Isaac now finds himself in the family's basement, which is more like a sprawling dungeon chock full of creepy, often disgusting enemies. Gameplay-wise, I don't think there's really a better comparison for this game than the original Legend of Zelda. It's extremely similar to the dungeon exploration in that game, except here, the rooms and routes are all completely randomized, so you never know what's waiting for you beyond the next door. You can walk into a room with one trash mob or a swarm of daunting foes. Not to mention each level caps off with a boss fight, aiming to pick you off while you're at your weakest. Now, all hope is not lost though, as there are also game-changing items to be found that can power Isaac up. Whether it be giving him more health or new attacks, with enough exploration, you can turn the tables on your enemies by making Isaac the scariest thing in the room. On top of that, enemies have a chance to drop spare change that can be used in the shops, again randomly placed in the dungeons, but there you can purchase items, even hearts. And when I say there are a ton of items in this game, yes, I mean that metaphorically, but it's almost hardly an exaggeration. To demonstrate, the game keeps track of all the items you find with an updating list. The question marks are ones you have yet to discover, and here's mine on day one. Yeah, there's still a lot to find. Now, I don't want the whole die once and the run is over to scare people off, as the game is also pretty short. I'd say you can probably beat it in about an hour or so. And that's not to say you beat the game and you're done with it. Without giving too much away, you'll unlock more incentives to replay the game upon beating it. Let's just say, for one, this version of the game has a bunch of different endings, and there's even additional playable characters that need to be unlocked. Plus, there's different modes. The greed one is a favorite of mine, where you press a switch to begin a countdown that will spawn enemies in a room in short intervals. You can switch it off to stop the spawning and perhaps hit the shop, but it costs health. Basically, you want to see how long you can last. Also, there's these daily challenges that offer up a random scenario that all players can compete with each other in, complete with leaderboards matching you up on how far you got and your runtime against other players. A great way to keep the game fresh while providing a reason to play it regularly. With the game pretty much being a twin-stick shooter, one stick moves Isaac and the other one shoots. Some button pressing is required for item use, etc., but there's not much of it. Combined with the short intervals you can play this in, and I think this is potentially the Switch's best candidate for portable play we've seen so far. You can easily drop in and out for a bit, even if stopping mid-run. You won't feel lost when you come back, as each level only consists of a few rooms. So overall, this is a quality title with mass amounts of replayability, but what about the negatives? Well, to me, this goes mostly back to the difficulty, and opinions will vary. I would say people need to keep in mind that, for casual gamers, even the normal difficulty of this game will be a challenge. So keep that in mind if you don't like the stress. Also, with the levels being randomized, not all are created equal. Sometimes you can feel a bit cheated because you rolled a series of particularly tough rooms. Maybe one that's almost pitch black, packed with quick-moving enemies, for instance. It can kinda suck, especially if it ends you late in a run. But overcoming that adversity is still a major draw of the game. Also, while there's a good amount of enemy and item variety, I wish there were more in terms of stage design, whether it be different backgrounds, environmental hazards, barriers, whatever. I wish there was some more variance in things to look at, many of which could have added another layer to the gameplay. So considering all of the things I've mentioned so far, who is this game for? Again, the closest game I can compare it to is the original Legend of Zelda, so definitely check out Binding of Isaac if you love that game. Beyond retro dungeon exploring, I think fans of bullet hell shooters will really like this one. The twin-stick style of play, along with maintaining a position in which you can hit without being hit while projectiles fly all over, will attract those who enjoy those kinds of games. And once again, the difficulty, if you're a fan of that old-school NES hard type of game, this is definitely one to keep your eye on, especially if you're brave enough to tackle those harder modes. And finally, if you're just looking for a solid portable game for your Switch, unlike something like Breath of the Wild, which I don't really think plays well in short increments, this is a great game to just even put a couple minutes into, put it down, and come back later. So it seems like the game is pretty great, and it is. But there's just one final problem, in my opinion at least, and that's the price. $40 on the eShop, in my opinion, is too high, and I'm aware that's pretty close to the going rate for this title on other platforms, but I just find it too pricey for what you get buying the digital version. I would have liked to see it more along the lines of $30, $25 probably optimal. Now with that said though, let's go back to the physical version, an actual game card, manual, box, and even those stickers. To me, this package lessens that $40 blow, and even more so, I got it from Best Buy with Gamers Club, so the game came out to be more like $32. At that price, for the physical version, I feel like I got my money's worth. But if you're just looking to get a digital version of the game, I'd wait till the inevitable sale. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus in the comments. As always, I'm John Zaccari, and thanks for watching.